The house at the end of Frostwood Street. In the town of Ravenport, Christmas was impossible to ignore. Every house was wrapped in lights. Every window glowed with warmth. Laughter spilled into the cold night air as snow slowly fell from the sky. But one street was different. Frostwood Street. At the very end of it stood a house that never changed. No decorations, no Christmas tree, no lights, just darkness. The house looked old, older than the rest of the town. Its wooden walls were cracked, its windows black like empty eyes. And every year, as Christmas Eve approached, the house seemed to grow darker. People didn't talk about it. Children were warned never to walk past it. Adults crossed the street to avoid it, because every Christmas Eve, someone went missing. Ethan had just moved to Ravenport a week before Christmas. He didn't know the stories. He didn't know the rules. His rented house stood directly across from Frostwood Street. That night, the clock read 11:57 p.m. Ethan stood by the window watching the snow fall when something caught his attention. Footprints. Fresh footprints in the snow. Bare feet. No shoes. No socks. They began beneath his window and led straight toward the dark house at the end of the street. A chill crawled up his spine. Then he heard it. A bell. Not cheerful. Not festive. Broken. Metallic. Dragging. Jingle. Silence. Jingle. The sound came from the direction of the house. Ethan held his breath. The footprints began to fade. Slowly. One by one. As if the snow was swallowing them. And then they were gone. At that moment, Ethan realized something terrible. That house was not empty, and Christmas night had only just begun. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. The wind howled outside, pushing snow against the walls. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, then went silent. At 12:14 a.m., Ethan heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A slow, deliberate creak. Not from inside his house. From outside. From the street. He got out of bed and moved toward the window, careful not to make a sound. The street lamp flickered, its light weak against the snow, and then he saw it. The front door of the dark house was open, just a crack. Blackness spilled out like thick smoke, swallowing the snow at its doorstep. Ethan felt an unbearable pressure in his chest. Then, the bell rang again, closer this time. Jingle, he turned. The sound didn't come from the dark house. It came from behind him. Ethan froze. The bell rang once more. Jingle, he slowly looked toward his hallway. Nothing was there. No shadow, no movement. Still, the air felt heavier, warmer, as if someone had just passed by. Suddenly, a whisper brushed against his ear. He's watching. Ethan spun around. Empty. His heart slammed against his ribs. He backed away, breath shaking, until his legs hit the couch. Outside, the dark house's door closed. Hard. The street lamp went out. Total darkness. Then his phone vibrated. A notification. A message from an unknown number. It read, "Do not decorate. Do not invite. Do not open the door." Before Ethan could react, another message appeared. "You've already been seen." The bell rang again. This time, it was right outside his front door. Ethan stood frozen in the middle of his living room. The bell rang again. Jingle, slow, patient. It wasn't coming from the street anymore. It was hanging on his door handle. He could hear it move slightly, as if someone outside was breathing against the wood. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. 12 a.m. Christmas had officially begun. Then came the knock. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan's throat went dry. He remembered the message. Do not open the door. The knocking stopped. Silence. For a moment, he thought it was over. Then a voice spoke. Soft, low, wrong. Ethan. His blood ran cold. No one in Ravenport knew his name. The voice continued. I brought you a gift. Ethan backed away from the door, shaking his head. No, he whispered. The door handle twitched. Not violently, gently, as if testing him. Then the voice laughed. Not joyful, not human. Ethan's eyes drifted to the peephole. Every instinct screamed at him not to look. He looked anyway. A face filled the hole. A Santa hat. A white beard. A smile stretched too wide. The eyes were wrong. Empty. Black. Like holes burned into reality. The mouth opened, but the voice came from somewhere else. You were very good this year. The bell jingled again. The floor began to vibrate. From the hallway behind him, soft footsteps echoed. Bare feet, coming closer. Ethan wasn't alone anymore, and the door was starting to open. The door creaked open by itself. Just an inch. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of snow, and something else. Something rotten. Santa stepped inside. Slowly, too smoothly. His boots didn't leave wet marks on the floor. His body cast no shadow, even under the hallway light. In his hand, he carried a large red gift bag. The bag moved, not from the wind, twitched, like something inside was shifting its weight. Ethan stumbled backward. Please, he whispered, take whatever you want. Santa tilted his head. The smile stayed frozen. That's not how this works, he said. From the hallway behind Ethan, the barefoot footsteps stopped. The air grew thick, hard to breathe. Santa set the bag down. It sagged unnaturally, as if it were filled with soft, living things. Then the bag made a sound. A muffled whimper. A child's voice. Help me. Ethan's knees nearly gave out. Santa reached into the bag. He pulled out a toy train. Old, rusted. Its tiny windows were filled with human eyes. They blinked. They cried. Tears of blood rolled down the metal. You see, Santa whispered, the naughty don't get coal anymore. The footsteps behind Ethan started again. Closer, slower. He turned just in time to see shapes forming in the darkness. Small, bent, wrapped in torn winter clothes. Children, their faces pale, their mouths sewn shut. Santa lifted the bag again. And now, he said softly, it's your turn to give. The lights went out. The darkness wasn't empty. It was crowded. Ethan couldn't see them clearly, but he could feel them. Small hands brushing against his legs, cold fingers tightening around his wrists. The air filled with shallow breathing, dozens of breaths, all out of sync. Then the lights flickered back on, just for a second, long enough to see them. Children stood all around him. Their eyes were wide and glassy. Their skin was pale, almost blue. Thick black threads stitched their mouths shut, the skin around the seams torn and bloody. They were barefoot. Their feet left wet prints on the floor. Ethan screamed. The lights went out again. A hand grabbed his shoulder. He spun around, swinging blindly, but his arm passed straight through empty air. Santa's voice echoed from everywhere. Christmas is about giving, he said, and remembering. The bell jingled. Suddenly, the floor beneath Ethan's feet shifted. The living room walls stretched, bending inward like they were breathing. The ceiling cracked open, revealing darkness above, endless and deep. The children began to move. They circled him slowly. One of them stepped forward. A little girl. Her stitches were loose. Her mouth trembled beneath the thread. She raised her hand and pointed at Ethan. He didn't believe, she whispered, though her lips never moved. The others repeated it. He didn't believe. He didn't believe. He didn't believe. The chanting grew louder. Ethan fell to his knees, covering his ears. I'm sorry, he cried. I didn't know. Santa appeared in front of him. Close, too close. He smelled like old snow and decay. You were invited, Santa said gently. You looked. You listened. He opened the red bag. Inside, Ethan saw faces. Adults, children, all staring back at him. All awake, all screaming silently. Santa leaned down and whispered, "Climb in." The children stepped closer. The bell rang one last time. Ethan backed away from the bag. "No, no, please," he whispered. The children stopped moving. All at once, their heads tilted in the same direction, toward him. Santa straightened up, his smile slowly fading for the first time. "Christmas always ends," he said softly. "But not everyone gets to leave." The bell fell silent. The house shuddered. Walls peeled away like old paper, revealing the street outside. Snow fell inside the living room now, drifting gently around them. Ethan realized something horrifying. The house was no longer on Frostwood Street. Frostwood Street was inside the house. He ran, straight for the open doorway. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world twisted. The cold vanished. The snow stopped. He was standing in the dark house at the end of the street, alone, or so he thought. Behind him, the door slammed shut. The walls were covered with names, hundreds of them, scratched into the wood, dates next to each name. Every date was Christmas Eve. At the bottom of the wall, fresh letters began carving themselves. Ethan, December 25th. The bell jingled behind him. Santa stood in the corner now. No hat, no beard, just a tall, thin shadow wearing a human smile. "You'll stay," it said, "so others can leave." Ethan screamed as the darkness closed in. The next morning, Ravenport woke up to snow and silence. One house on Frostwood Street was missing. No rubble, no damage, just untouched snow. And barefoot footprints, leading away. Somewhere a bell rang. Christmas was over. Until next year.